This problem, we are going to solve for x if x is greater than or equal to 0 radian, less than 2 pi radian. Note that x will be in radian form for this problem in the first revolution. For one revolution solution, the equation is 2 times cosine x minus 1 equals secant x. We have cosine x and secant x within the same equation. So we're gonna have to rewrite equation into the equation of only one trigonometric function. First, we're gonna find the relationship of cosine x and secant x. As we know, the secant x is 1 over cosine x. So that's what we're gonna do first. Replacing the secant x with 1 over cosine x. Equation becomes 2 times cosine x minus 1 equals 1 over cosine x. After this point, we can see that the restriction will come from the denominator cosine x. Put a note here, restriction. The cosine x cannot be 0. If the cosine x cannot be 0 for the unit circle, let's bring it out here. For the cosine x that is 0, where x is the angle in radian form, where x is pi over 2 and 3 pi over 2. So we're going to omit these two solutions if it happens. So x cannot be pi over 2 and 3 pi over 2 from the restriction that the denominator going to be 0. So then next we're going to process the equation by multiplying both sides by cosine x. Then we get 2 times cosine square x minus cosine x equals 1. At this point, we have the equation involving with only one trig function, which is cosine x. We're gonna let an angle A, or not an angle, the quantity A to represent the cosine x. The equation becomes 2 times A squared minus A equals 1. We have the quadratic equation at this point to solve for A. So we're gonna solve for A. To solve for A, we call the right-hand side of the quadratic equation must be 0. So we're going to add, subtract 1 both sides. So get 2a squared minus a minus 1 equals 0. And then factor completely. To get -1 for the last group and +1 for the first group. At this point, we have two equations. The first one is 2a plus 1 equals 0. The second one is a minus 1 equals 0. Solve for a, we have a equals -1/2 for the first group and a equals +1 for the second group. Recall the a is cosine x. We're going to replace a with the cosine x. Cosine is -1/2. X as an angle, x must be in the second quadrant and the third quadrant. The cosine x is the first coordinate of the ordered pair on the unit circle. As the first coordinate is -1/2, an angle in radian is 2 pi over 3. For the third quadrant, the angle will be 4 pi over 3. So we get two solutions for the first equation as x equals 2 pi over 3 and x equals 4 pi over 3. And check with the solution. Yes, these two angles are not pi over 2 or 3 pi over 2. So we save these two solutions. And now for the second one, the cosine x equals 1. The first coordinate equals 1 at 0 radian. So the answer for this is x equals 0. Now we have three solutions for this problem. And all three solutions are not either pi over 2 or 3 pi over 2. So we are good.